This video is designed to show you how to do a one-way ANOVA on a Mac using the StatPlus add-in. Following the in-class instructions, you need to make sure that your data are set up in two ways. First, as Mac users, you need to set up your data using this format where you have condition, week, height, and plant. We're not going to use this data set right now, but we will use it for the two-factor ANOVA. If you have a Mac and you are following this tutorial, to be able to achieve this one, you need to arrange your data so that you have a condition, and then the zeros represent your control, the ones represent your treatment. You may have more numbers here than this, and then you'll have 3 weeks, or maybe 4, or maybe 2, depending on how we have been working so far in this experiment. But you're going to have the weeks, and then these represent the heights of your plants in centimeters in each of these 3-week conditions. Now, to open StatPlus, remember it's an overlay, it's an add-in, and so you're going to see it, but there's nothing different that you're going to actually see on your screen. When StatPlus is running, come up to the top and click on Statistics, go down to Analysis of Variance, and click on One-Way ANOVA. This is going to tell you that it wants you to input your data. Now, remember that an ANOVA is just like a t-test, but we're testing between more than 2 groups. In this case, we're testing between 3 groups. So we're interested in knowing, just for our condition plants, is there a difference in height between week 1, week 2, and week 3? So I'm going to highlight all of my control data, including the labels. And once I'm done with that, I need to go back to StatPlus. So I use the toggle, which basically means I hold down the Command key and then I hit the Tab button, and that's going to bring up StatPlus. I can choose that, and now my pop-up screen is here. When I hit OK, the ANOVA is going to be running, and then I'm going to get a separate spreadsheet. Now, in this spreadsheet, there's going to be a couple of things to check. First is the summary table, and this is always a good idea to look at just to make sure that your data came in the way you expected. You had week 1, week 2, and week 3. Those were your 3 groups that you chose. In each of those, you had 4 plants. You may have 8, depending on what data you're running, but in my example, I had 4. It gives me the sum, and it gives me the mean heights, and it also calculates the variance. But what I usually check is the sample size. If this says 3 or some number like 7 that doesn't match your numbers, then it probably tells you didn't grab all of the cells when you were doing your initial highlighting. The ANOVA table is what's going to be useful to you, and in particular right over here, this P level. Okay. Your P level here corresponds to your P value. And remember that we compare our p-value against 0.05, so I'll leave you to do the interpretation here, but this is the information that you're going to want to pull from your analysis of variance one-way ANOVA test. And this, again, is going to answer the question, is there a difference between the heights of my control plants over time? To answer the second question, is there a difference between the height of my treatment plants over time? If I wanted to ask that question, I'd have to go back to my original data set, and instead of highlighting the the control, I'd have to highlight the treatment. So let's do that really quickly. Go up here to Stats, again, choose Analysis of Variance, One-Way ANOVA. This time I need to highlight these cells right here. And notice that I don't have the weeks this time. So when I go back to my StatPlus, I need to uncheck this box that says Labels in the first row and hit OK. And this time I'm going to get an output for my second treatment group. I've got 4. Notice it just says variable here this time because I didn't have any labels. But again, I'm going to go down here, I'm going to look at this p-value, and this tells me if there is a difference in the treatment height over time. And again, I'll let you interpret that. But that's how you run a one-factor ANOVA using the StatPlus add-on to Excel.